Hello, dear students. I, Dr. Rupali Sethi from the Department of Chemistry, University of Allahabad, wish everyone to stay safe at their homes during the lockdown due to COVID-19 pandemic. As we are unable to conduct our practical classes efficiently due to the lockdown as the university is closed down, so I would just love to let you know some of the techniques which we use during our practical sessions. This presentation focuses on one of the most important techniques, chromatography, and its principle, application, types, and demonstration during the course of the presentation. It is a laboratory technique for the separation of mixtures of 24 amino acids, as you all know, sugars, alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenoids, and steroids as well. The green color of the leaf, as you all know, is due to chlorophyll, which is made up of two components, A and B. Apart from the green color, we have purple, red, pink, brown color in the leaves. They camouflage the green color. Some poison substances are also present, which unknowingly enter the digestive system and cause disease. The word chromatography is made up of chroma and graphin combined together. The components are separated on the basis of color bands, which are later identified by basic tests, IR, UV, NMR, mass spectroscopy. M.S. Sweet was a scientist who named this technique as chromatography and helpful in separation of components of a solution by color. Whatever we do, there is always a purpose behind it. Here, this technique helps us to analyze the chemical composition, that is, number of components present in an unknown mixture, which is obtained from a natural source or by synthetic method. After determining the component, we can separate and purify in feasible amount for further analysis. Some prominent terms used in chromatography are chromatograph, eluent, eluate, stationary phase, as is shown here. The chromatograph is the instrument used for the purpose, like a tank, paper, slide, column, HPLC instrument, etc. When the liquid phase enters the column, it is called eluent, and when it leaves, it is called eluate. Paper, silica gel are the stationary phase on which our liquid or its mixture moves. As you see here, the flow of the mobile phase is unidirectional. On the stationary phase, the sample or the group of unknown compounds interacts and gets separated into its components depending on its speed of flow, molecular weight of the compound, and the solubility of the compound in the solvent or a mixture of solvents. The retention time or the retention factor is a very important term which is calculated by a formula. Retention time or retention factor is equal to time taken by the solute to travel upon time taken by the solvent to travel the whole chromatograph. Here, the sample is the analyte and the solvent is the substance in which the compound is completely or partially soluble. The principle of the technique is based on physical means of separation between two phases based on their differential distribution. For the speed of flow, the distribution or partition coefficient is responsible to a great extent. Various types of chromatography are paper chromatography, thin layer chromatography, column chromatography, gas chromatography, and high pressure liquid chromatography. The terms paper, thin layer, column, gas, and liquid are the terms which are the stationary phases in all these chromatography. Paper, TLC, and column chromatography can easily be done in laboratory by each and every student. But for HPLC and GC, a specialized training is required for the student, and then they can also do. These instruments are a little costlier and should be handled with care. In case of paper chromatography, the paper, it just looks similar to the chart paper which we use in a drawing, but this paper is a little more expensive and is made up of cellulose, a polar compound. So, when a mixture of compounds travels across the polar compounds, the polar compounds separate a little earlier and non-polar go a little downward or farther from the initiating line. Here we can explain it in another way. Just like in a race, we have the starting line and everybody runs for a fixed amount of or a fixed period of time. The time factor is same for all, but the distance traveled by each player is different. So, similar is the case. The polar substances run a little slow because they form a bond with the paper and are unable to move ahead. Is different. Like attracts like, opposites are not attracted. Polar compounds attract other polar compounds. Non-polar attracts non-polar. Non-polar have no attraction to other polar compounds in case of paper chromatography. This is a diagrammatic representation as to how we perform the experiment of paper chromatography in the laboratory. Here, as you can see, we have a jar or a tank, a paper strip, and solvent in the jar, which is covered by a lid, and it is exposed in the solvent for a fixed amount of time. After the time is over, we take out the paper which is initially wet and we are not able to see anything on it. But it is hanged and then dried. When it is completely dried, it is sprayed by the specific spraying reagent, like in case of sugars we use aniline hydrogen halate. In case of amino acids we use ninhydrin, and in case of alkaloids and terpenoids, specific spraying reagents are there which you will be able to see in my slides later on. As I've told earlier, this is the retention factor, and we can calculate the retention factor by taking into note the distance moved by the sample and the distance moved by the solvent from the origin. Different compounds, as you can see, separated dyes, travel a different distance, and this we can only see when they are sprayed by the specific spraying reagent. You have to put in a line in the maximum portion of the spot, like where the distance is maximum, and then its center and the center of the origin is measured. The RF value, the distance traveled by the solute upon distance traveled by the solvent. If RF comes out to be 0, that means nothing is moved. If RF value is 1, the solute has no affinity for the stationary phase and travels with the solvent front. And we can calculate it and report it for further study. Now comes thin layer chromatography. It is a widely employed technique. Why? Because very less amount of time and we need just very little amount of equipment like a beaker, a slide, uh, and a watch glass, little bit of solvent, 5 to 10 ml is required. It is widely used in pharmaceutical and foodstuff industry so that we can detect if there is any impurity or any other compound in the sample. It is a very advantageous technique. Why? Because it is simple, rapid and cheap. It runs faster, better separation, and with better results with a good resolution. We can separate the components very easily, and by making a preparative slide and separating in large bulk. The principle behind the thin layer chromatography technique is to identify the unknown compounds and to determine how much pure it is. The TLC plate is made up of on a glass or an alumina sheet, and it is coated with silica gel, which is specifically for TLC. The thickness of the layer is 0.1 to 0.3 mm. We can just develop it after performing the experiment. We can develop it by using a fluorescence indicator or exposing it to UV light or iodine chamber. Any of the three we can use. This is a pictorial representation of thin layer chromatography. As you can see here, we have a TLC plate which is made up of glass and alumina, on which silica gel of TLC has been applied. It can be prepared as well as it is available in the market. Then we have a TLC chamber, which is a beaker. At the bottom is a mobile phase, which is the solvent in which the TLC will run. There's a spotting line on which we place the spots, and then we cover this TLC chamber with a watch glass. After 10 minutes or 15 minutes, the whole slide is wet. As soon as this happens, we remove the lid, take out the slide, let it dry, and then expose it in an iodine chamber. Iodine chamber is nothing. In a beaker, we keep some solid iodine and cover it with a watch glass. After some time, the spots develop, as you can see in the second figure, and then we can measure the distance traveled by the spot and the distance traveled by the element as similar in case of paper chromatography. And we can calculate the RF value with the in TLC also very easily. These are some of the spraying reagents, as I've already told you, like in case of alkaloids, terpenoids, steroids, unsaturated and oxy compounds, sugars, amino acids. Every compound has a specific spraying reagent, and this is the list of that. As you all can see, this is the atomizer in which the spraying solvent is filled in, and then we spray on the paper as well as the TLC. It is a very typical type of instrument. Just like the blood pressure machine we have, there's a nozzle side. You press it, the solvent comes out and it wets the whole paper as well as the TLC. So this is a very important instrument, or you can say apparatus, in chromatography. This is the third type of chromatography. Apart from paper, TLC, we have the column chromatography. Here the solid material that is the absorbent is the silica gel, but this silica gel is completely different from the silica gel used in the TLC. The grains are very coarse in this case. Here we fill in, next slide you'll see, you'll fit in the burette, and the attractive forces like van der Waals force, hydrogen bonding are prevalent over here. The functional groups like hydroxyl group, aromatic groups gets attached to the silica gel, and in the next slide we will see the demonstration of it. Column is very similar to the burette as we have handled. In burette there is a marking, but in a column there is no marking. Columns come in different lengths and thickness depending upon the material which we have to separate. At the bottom of the column we put some glass wool or cotton, then we put in the silica gel, then we put in the material which is adsorbed on the similar silica, And then the top is the entire column which is used for the solvent. As we open the stopcock, solvent at the top runs through the material and the silica gel and comes out in the collection flask. As soon as one compound is separated, we put another conical over there, and from the top there's a precaution which we have to take, that the column should never be dry. There should be some solvent at the top. On changing the solvent also, we do not have to let the column dry. We have to add the solvent. The solvents are added in increasing order of polarity. Pure solvents can be used as well as combination of solvents can be used to separate the compounds present in the mixture. See, there's a colored band in the silica gel. After all the material has been separated in the collection bottle kept at the bottom, the colored bands are seen in the silica gel, which we have to later on separate from the column by tapping, and in different porcelain dishes we collect it and then later on identify as to what material. Next comes the gas chromatography. Here the mobile phase is gas, especially we use helium, which is under a fixed amount of pressure. Here the stationary phase or the column is a pack of capillary. Partition coefficient of the volatile annulate between the solid stationary phase and the mobile phase, which is the helium. In other cases we have solvent as the mobile phase. Here the gas is the mobile phase, hence the name gas chromatography. This slide clearly indicates the advantages of gas chromatography over other chromatographies. Why is it used more, and more confirmatory results are obtained due to high sensitivity, high speed, and many other factors. The chemicals used here are methanol, isopropyl alcohol, and water. Sample can be a gas, liquid, or solid. The molecular weight which we can detect is from 2 to 800, and it should be in the volatile phase. These are the conditions required for gas chromatography. The pictorial representation of gas chromatography is a gas cylinder, there's an oven, and there's a data collecting system where the data is just recorded and you get a printout of it which you can later analyze. Applications of gas chromatography: it is a quantitative and qualitative analysis of low polarity compounds, and we can measure toxic substances which are present in soil, air, or water. Measures picomolecules of a substance in a 1 milliliter. That means you can see how precise it is, how accurate it is. It is basically used by an analytical chemist, a biochemist, a petrochemical industry, environmental monitoring of air pollution. You can very easily use the gas chromatography. This is high pressure liquid chromatography. As the name suggests, high pressure, that means liquid is inserted with high pressure. Like in gas we have a certain amount of pressure. In liquid chromatography we also inject this liquid sample with a very great pressure. Here the mobile phase is the liquid. We use a column, very small packing of materials, and relatively high pressure is used. That is the main thing which is covered over here. So due to pressure, the components separate perfectly, and with more accuracy we can get the results on the data sheet provided, which comes out of the instrument and later. This is the HPLC system. Here we have the solvent, the pump, the detector, HPLC column, the packing material, the waste comes out, and there's a computer data station where you get the chromatogram. That means the peaks can be seen, and according to the peaks we can later analyze and detect as to which functional groups are present in the compound being isolated. The high pressure liquid chromatography has varied applications. They are used by pharmacokinetics to study how quickly a drug will be cleared from the hepatic portal flow and organs of the body. That means that whenever we take some medicine, and like after the course is complete, we feel like we have the taste of the medicine in our mouth. That means the body still has that antibiotic in our system. So by pharmacokinetics, we can easily detect as to when it will be cleared from the hepatic portal system and you will feel normal. In proteomics, like peptide mass fingerprinting, we can detect the peptide chains with the help of high pressure liquid chromatography. They are used in glycoprotein mapping, natural products, bioaffinity screening, in vivo drug screening, impurity detection, degrade identification, quantitative bioanalysis, and quality control. Apart from this, they are used in fungicidal detection, in pesticide industry, and herbicide industry also. As you all know that behind every technique, there should be some major application in the real world. And some of the major applications in the real world in case of different types of chromatography are given on the slide. In case of liquid chromatography, we can test water samples and check pollution. In case of gas chromatography, we can detect bombs in the airport, identify and quantify drugs as alcohol used in forensics. The thin layer chromatography is used in detecting pesticides and insecticides in food residues. It can be used in dye composition, used in forensic labs. In case of probe chromatography, we can separate the amino acids. RNA fingerprinting can be done. We can separate the histamines and the antibiotics, and these all practicals are conducted in the laboratory when we shall meet. Thank you all for your patience listening to this whole session of chromatography, and I feel personally like I will be able to convey whatever I wanted to all of you. If you have any suggestions, anything you wish to know from me more, you're all welcome. Thank you. Stay safe and stay at home.